Before watching this video, I recommend going through my review of the first 4 seasons for the right mindset and knowledge. With that out of the way, let's get started. I may have really liked the first episode of Jack's 5th season when I made the last video, but in retrospect it didn't feel like the massive change that you'd expect after a decade and a half or 5 decades within the show's own timeline. There were noticeable changes that I expanded upon, but overall it simply felt like more Jack. Episodes 2 and 3 though finally showed what all these years did for Gandhi. As explained by the DVD commentary, Jack started with a very two-dimensional look and worked its way from there as Gandhi progressively learned to handle 3D space better and better. You can definitely see this in seasons 3 and 4 and the end of season 2 as the backgrounds that looked like completely flat 2D colleges slowly got replaced with cinematic ones that followed three-dimensional space more and more. This isn't necessarily an objective improvement. I liked the flatness of season 1 quite a lot and it was masterfully handled, but it's absolutely a fitting one that correlates to the heightened gravitas of the later episodes. Season 5, however, takes things to a whole new level with shots that stand out hugely from what we've become used to in the past seasons, and the things Gandhi learned from working on things like Clone Wars, Hotel Transylvania, and Symbionic Titan are clearer than ever. The action scenes have the characters navigate the world in a way that uses far more depth perception. And while I normally would have been upset by the use of three-dimensional backgrounds, they're used very well here and don't stick out because Scott Wils's hand-drawn backgrounds look more 3D and realistic anyway. As for Jack himself, well, his design is now less paper-like and some of these shots give him never-before-seen anatomy and construction. Just screen cap in the middle of this running shot and look at how skillfully his arms and back are rendered. Coupled with the high caliber use of gradients, it looks like something out of a particularly impressively drawn 2000s anime show. But just because things look more 3D doesn't mean the use of expressionistic visual inventiveness has gone down. The episodes are still packed with playful inventive stylization, well-used colors, and a great cinematic feeling. The scene where Jack is seeking refuge as he's all bloodied up and defeated has some mind-blowingly beautiful and iconic shots that nail home the emotion of the scene a million times better than boring narration would have. Jack is a legendary, tragic hero, and even his failures have a mythical allure to them. Just look at the way the trees are used to frame the shots, how Jack's proportions subtly go off-model to fit his disempowered state, and how outright painful this shot is. If it were drawn and animated more like the old seasons, it would not have been as effective. It's only with the heightened realism of the hyperfluid animation and 3D anatomical construction that you can truly wince at what Jack is going through. But what blew my mind more than anything else was the use of blood. I don't even have anything to say, just look at this, it's pure fucking genius. Instead of just using the liquid for the hell of it because hey, we're on Adult Swim now, it's perfectly integrated into the uniquely stylish visual language of Jack's universe. It's disturbing when it needs to be and mind-blowingly beautiful when it doesn't. And then you have Jack's dark side. Holy crap, the way he's drawn in this episode is just amazing. He looks like something out of Taiyo Matsumoto's Takemitsu Samurai, and that's a huge compliment. The way his scenes are cut and framed, the way he swooshes around, it's just freaking brilliant. While being an obvious return to the two-dimensional, abstract nature of Jack's old design, even these shots subtly show off the increased three-dimensionality of the artwork. Look at how the eyes wrap around the face in this shot, for example. In a world where many artists' styles become quote-unquote streamlined or standardized over time for the sake of being easily mass-produced, Gandhi has never stopped honing his craft, and if anything, the visuals in his work seem to get more and more elaborate and technical, yet somehow at the same time more abstract and stylized over time. This is particularly inspirational given that his artistic roots from back when he was in his early 20s were shockingly, how do I put this? Humble? His stylistic pedigree was dire and his characters were blobby and formless. He had very little control over what he was drawing. And yet, as soon as a teacher taught him how to properly utilize construction on his art, in Gandhi's own words, he got 300% better in a matter of hours. Since those days, it feels like he never found a comfortable little place and stuck with it, instead constantly reaching for brand new heights in his artistic journey. Just look at these drawings he did for Marvel's Cage comic. This is an absolutely amazing evolution of Samurai Jack's style mixed with strikingly impressive use of Jack Kirby influences. While forsaking Jack's lack of line work for stylishly thick brush strokes, it makes absolutely beautiful use of them and makes the drawings a hell of a lot more dynamic than they would have otherwise been. Actually, now that I think about it, Jack and the Haunted House from Season 3 used some really amazing brush strokes too. I just forgot to mention it in my video about those seasons. At this point, it would be redundant to say that I'm looking forward to seeing what this series has in store next, but this video needs a conclusion, so I'm gonna have to say it. The end of episode 3, along with the thematic ideas introduced, open up some interesting new narrative possibilities, and I'm expecting it to be accompanied by more and more crazy experimental visuals. The remaining 7 episodes will absolutely be a blast.